Now, the nominations for this year's Police Bravery Awards are out. They recognise the extraordinary acts of officers who've taken risks to save others' lives. Among the nominations this year are husband and wife Mark and Katie Sigley, who pulled a couple from a burning house after spotting smoke on their drive home. And they join us now. Morning, both of you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Now, this is an interesting one because you were on your way home, but not a normal route, and it was a pretty unusual place for you to be. Katie, take up the story from there.
So we'd been to see my mum, who was in hospital at the time, and there was a strange set of circumstances that led us to be there, last-minute plans that we hadn't sort of factored in, and we ended up being at the other side of the town to where we actually live, and that's when we came across the smoke.
So, Mark, what did you see?
It was like a cloud across the road. It was a fairly straight road, so there's a cloud across the road. We didn't know what it was. I thought it was perhaps some strange mist, and Kate thought it was perhaps because it scattered chippings down a few days before, whether it's like dust off some chippings or something like that. But as soon as we got within the cloud, we quickly realised it was smoke, so we stopped.
And then what sort of started to chat the door down, and at that point, are you think? I would imagine it's almost just like sort of adrenaline kicks in, and you just think, right, I need to figure out what's going on here.
Yeah, we saw which house it was coming from. We figured out we saw it was coming from the garage area, and it was just billowing smoke. So we went to the front door of the house to see if we could raise any of the occupants. Banged on the door, but there's no answer. So. Yeah, we opened the front door, which led to another door, which I had to force a way through to get into the hallway. So when we got in there, we were shouting fire, is there anybody in, sort of thing. Had no responses initially. Then a lady came from the back side of the house and said, what's going on, what's all this smoke? And as she did that, she opened the kitchen door, which let in a lot more smoke.
Mm-hmm. And then from there, Katie, you just tried to get her outside.
Yeah, so as soon as we'd pulled up, I'd got on the phone to the fire service because obviously realised that it was bigger than anything we could deal with ourselves. And sort of took, as she came out, I took her arm and sort of led her out of the property, and we were asking her if there was anyone else in the house, to which she told us that her husband was upstairs in the bedroom on the back of the house. And
at that point, Mark, you're trying your best to get in to try and see if you can, raise the alarm to him. But is that a case of sort of training kicks in at that point?
As police officers, I don't think we aren't trained to deal with that. So I think it's just, we just want to help. We just wanted to make sure that obviously anybody that was in there was okay. There's no training that does that for us. I think as police officers, we do our best to manage and realise threat and risk quite often. But it's unusual for us to try and do that.
Yeah, because it gets worse because then you realise that there was gas canisters in that part of the garage as well. So I'm assuming, and you're right, it's that idea of assessing threat because you want to make sure that the other gentleman is safe, but also you're thinking, right, I need to make sure that I get myself out here safe. What was going through your mind, Mark, at that point?
Initially just to try and get upstairs, see if we could get to him. But unfortunately the smoke had filled probably a third down from the ceiling. So as I got towards probably about halfway up the stairs, I just inhaled a couple of gulps of thick black smoke, and instantly I couldn't breathe. So I started coughing, and I knew I couldn't get to him. So I had to get out myself.
And then, Katie, you had to make sure that the area around about it was safe as well. So what were you sort of doing to the neighbours? What were you saying to them?
So the house was a semi-detached house, so I went and sort of banged on the windows and got them out of their property, but then was able to go through their property and could see the chap in the back window. So just was sort of shouting up to kind of communicate with him, really. But obviously whilst being on the phone to the fire service the whole time.
So everyone eventually, Mark, got out safely?
Yes, yeah, eventually, yeah. I think because Kate and I sort of swapped places. Kate was round the back and I was round the front, and then I went round to the back and she came back round the front. And then I was trying to calm the gent down as well, but I think he fell out the bedroom window onto the conservatory roof. And what I've been told since, it if this conservatory roof went through. But yeah, the fire service team, I think, found him there and walked him through the back of their garden, through the back of the neighbour's garden and back up the neighbour's driveway.
How much did it help that you two are married? Because even though you're saying, like, you know, there's no formal training for things like this, but it's almost like from what you're describing, there's a sort of like an understanding of what you both needed to do. There was no moment of saying, right, you do this, you do that. You just sort of went into your roles.
Yeah, we it's kind of almost a bit instinctive. Mark's quite sort of practical, so he'll kind of go, right, well, we need to do this, whereas I'm like, right, well, we need to, you know, get onto the fire service. We need to sort of, so it is almost a bit of a
Team effort.
an unsaid sort of understanding between us that we sort of just get what we need to do done.
Are you ever off duty, Mark?
Yes.
You'd like to say yes.
Yeah, we've got involved in a couple of things when I've been off duty before, in the dim and distant past, but honestly, probably not, no. So, but it's part of the job. We only get involved in something when we're trying to help other people. That's why we joined the job in the first place. Wanted to help, wanted to make a difference, and, you know, on a few occasions we have done that. You know, we see the best and the worst, unfortunately, of society, but we do see the best, and we get to do things that not everybody else can, or perhaps even should do sometimes, because it might be beyond their capabilities.
It sounds a wee bit to me, right, that you're both playing this down a wee bit, I'm going to be honest. Because not many of us pull people from burning buildings, right? And also just to take that moment to say, wait a minute, I see something's happening, and I'm going to actually, like, do something about it. Some people would have just driven by. So the fact that lots of other people agree because you've been nominated for this, what does that feel like, Katie, having that recognition?
It's incredible, to be honest. I mean, I shy away from compliments or people praising me. I find it quite difficult to deal with, but actually it is incredible that, you know, people like you say have taken the time to nominate us and put us forward for it, because actually it's kind of almost, and it sounds daft, but it's almost just what we do. So you know, it doesn't feel as big as it seems, if that makes sense.
Mark?
Ditto. No, we're both very normal people. We're not pushy people. We don't go out of our way to cause problems with other people. We just like a nice, quiet life, which our home life is extremely quiet. You know,
it needs to be. We've got this text through. I don't have a name for it, but it says, "I know Mark and Kate really well, and this is typically understated of them. They put their lives on the line and treat it as a normal thing. Well done, both of you. It's fully deserved. Love to you both." So I think that sort of sums up what people think about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Humble.
Thank you. Yeah.
Listen, both of you, have a great time. I know that the event itself takes place on the 11th of July, so all the best for it, and thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about it.
Thanks for having us.
No, thank you for having us.
All the best, Mark.
Thank you, take care.
And Katie Sigley there, who've been nominated for this year's Police Bravery Awards.